TV crews tend to have very specific ways of doing things. You go into a place, you figure out who you want to interview, you set up for an interview. Sometimes places and people decide to teach you things outside of an interview process that you might not otherwise learn, and sometimes that means adapting. The first time we interviewed the community police, we were expecting to go and speak to one of the representatives about the community police, what they did in the region, how they kept things secure. In fact, what happened was that the police all gathered around at their headquarters, the different coordinators, two different groups representing environmental justice and people concerned about mining, people from the community concerned about the watersheds all came and sat down. There was no one representative who could speak for them. The process was something we had to understand as actually a community process. The same thing happened in just about every other community we visited, whether it meant the entire community coming out to speak with us and explain what they were facing in the area, whether it was military incursions, other kinds of repression, or whether it meant, as it did in one community, the entire community gathering in a hall to meet us and decide whether or not we had their permission to film or not. And no one person, again, could give us that permission. It had to be something that everybody agreed on. So that was a very important lesson for us to learn that told us something really important, I think, about the places we were in and about the ways in which decisions get made, the horizontal organization of those communities. And the other thing we found in every place, we would be greeted, and before we would film interviews, people would offer us food that they had made just for us, knowing we were coming. And it would be a collective process of sitting down to eat food that often in very poor places with not very many resources. Tortilla made by hand, which is incredibly labor-intensive, meat dishes, beans, and sharing that food all together for a good hour and talking over that meal before we actually went through the process of interviewing and speaking with people and filming in the community. And I think we were quite bratty the first few times as a sort of Western camera crew or overprivileged camera crew, very individualistic, being like, well, I'm fine, I just have a power bar, I just want to sort of get going and let's cut to the chase, and we're wasting time. And finally, I think we figured out that this was actually part of a community vetting and trust building process, as well as being incredibly generous hospitality. And I think finally, after multiple meals, started to understand what a special thing it was we were participating in.